So let's work on to the items that aren't weapons. So basically the consumables. Okay, apart from spells, which we've seen already that they are sort of like the attacks we get, we should be able to do with the same logic the items, which we're going to be calling consumables, which I think it's fair to assume that anything that is on the middle over here, you know, right weapon, left weapon, middle and spells, okay, it's the consumable items. Okay, so let's go under the our scripts. Let's go under our items. We have all of this, so let's create one for consumables. Let's open our editor. Okay, so let's delete all that. Now this will derive from item. Okay, let's see what the item gives us. It gives us our model prefab, it gives us the sprite icon, everything that has to do with the icon utilities. Okay, perfect. So we need to know now what is happening when we are actually using the consumable. Okay, so that's a little bit of, yeah, okay. I guess we could just go with generic. There's two ways to do this. One will be to just use scriptable objects and drag and drop the their logic. The other way will be to create templates. So this will be an actual abstract class as well, so that we can drag and drop it, and we can create an abstract void on consume. Okay, so let's now go and let's go under items and let's create a new class. We're going to be thinking generic. So we're not going to be saying that, you know, add health. Obviously that's also a way to do this, but we're going to be saying add value on stat. Okay, everything inside the game is a stat. For example, health, stamina, or anything else can be considered as stat. So if you're going to be adding onto that value, let's call it consumable add stat. Okay, let's delete all of that and then let's assign this as consumables. Okay, then we have our abstract. Yeah, we need our override, and then I'm going to assign the value. So let's say add value, and somehow we need to target our stats. Okay, but I'm not going to basically, because we don't really have anything that is stat based in this case. So I'm going to simply say back.log add value. Okay, add value, just so that we know that's the only feedback we're going to be getting. We're going to be getting a debug log right now. Okay, then let's create a new class that is basically going to be our consumable holder. Okay, and this one now will include the times used. or amount. We can have a bool to know if it's, is unlimited or whatever, if that's the case. But we also need to know our consumable from start. So consumable base. Okay. So this now is going to go under our inventory manager, the same way our weapons are going on our inventory manager. So let's find that one. Let's see, we have our weapon holder manager, controller, action controller. Yeah, let's take a look on a player controller. Yeah, of course, it needs to wait a little bit. We have our controller. Yeah, okay, we are treating the weapon holder manager. So we're going to say that the weapon holder manager will also become our inventory manager. As a matter of fact, we can just do this now and say this is the inventory manager. Save that, open it, and just rename this to inventory manager. Oops. Okay, so public consumable, and let's just assign only one consumable. Okay, there's one slight difference from this consumable to this from our weapons to the consumables. However, that is, we still want to know the current consumable holder consumable. Okay, at start we're simply going to be creating a new consumable, or better yet, let's just say public void create consumable holder for, let's call this current consumable. Okay, consumable item. Consumable item. Consumables. Now I can't really stand this being on, and yeah, on plural. So I'm going to change I'm going to rename and remove the S. Okay, and just rename everything. Okay. Better manager. So consumable holder consumable equals consumable item. The amount, we don't really do much, to be honest, or unlimited right now, so we'll just keep it like that. Or we could just say that, okay, let's set this to 5 for now. Obviously, we're going to be getting the amount from the data you have inside the consumable. So, at least for now, we need to be doing something with this. So I think it should make sense if we do a return. So I'm going to say current consumable equals create consumable holder consumable item. Okay, if consumable item is not null. Then we could basically have a check for, let's do public bool execute or create consumable. Okay, public void try to consume item. Yeah, that's more better. We're going to be returning a bool. Okay, now if current consumable is not null, okay, now on the consumable, when you consume an item, there's always something happening. There's always going to be an animation to this. So I'm going to be saying consume animation. Okay, which means back to the inventory manager. If current consumable is not equals null, if current consumable dot amount is higher than 0, then return value equals true. Okay. And we could be passing also a reference string for the target animation that we're going to be playing. Okay, and then that will be target animation, the current consumable dot consumable base dot consume animation. Awesome. So let's go back to our controller. And actually, we don't need our controller. We need our input manager. That's more important. And let's see, we are missing the D-pad from here, unfortunately. Oh, but we do use the down arrow. Okay, so we're going to use the down arrow. Do we have... actually, yeah, we might not have the down arrow. Yeah, let's say down arrow, get button status, keys dot player dot yeah, we don't use, damn it, RT or no, actually we want the interaction. Yeah, the down arrow doesn't actually, yeah, that's my mistake. We want the, I think it's the B button on the Xbox. So let's see. Yeah, we don't even have that already. So we're going to have to fix them. So let's assign the role for now. And down is actually wrong. So let's go over here and say we have our BLT. Okay, B input. That's what we need. B input is, so it's the X input then, not the B input. Anyway, just use the one you want to use for that. Doesn't really matter. And let's see, where is B input coming from? Nowhere. Oh, down here. Okay, so X input, we're going to have to change this on the input action. So let's go and do that. Select the player controls. BLT, RT, lock, roll, interact. What does this have? The B, okay. The B is the, what? Yeah, so I'm totally confused as to which button is what, does what. Anyway, let's just copy this, or duplicate, better yet. Interact, we're going to name this consume. Button west, this will be. Button east, this will be the right side. button west, okay, and then let's change this to maybe X keyboard. Okay, save asset, then back to our input manager, then this will be consume phase. Okay, so disable lock on, okay, is interacting roles. So if you're not interacting, then you're going to do value, return value equals false, lock input, controller, lock on. Okay, that's irrelevant for now. Then after the handle input, over here, roll flag, okay. Okay, so if X input, if controller not interacting, obviously, try controller dot inventory manager to have a reference to inventory manager. Yeah, I think we're calling it weapon manager. Let's take a look. Weapon holder manager. Okay, so let's rename that to inventory manager. And actually, let's rename that to inventory manager. And let's make this as a public inventory manager. Inventory manager get return inventory manager. Okay, so I don't have to change everywhere this, and I can just get my inventory manager from this. So that will be controller inventory manager try to consume item. You need to be passing a string for this. So target anim can just be empty. Reference target anim. So that means a reference variable is basically, if it changes inside the method, it's also going to be changed outside here. So if, I think maybe we can do reference string target anim equals reference string out. Yeah, whatever. Okay, so if this is true, then controller play target animation, target anim is true, false, and that's it. So now this will actually force him to play to basically play the animation that is going to be consuming the item. In our case, we're just going to go with the Bestus animation. I think we already have this down here. Bestus. Yeah, good enough. Let's call this drink. And move that below. Yeah, something like this. So let's go and create the item. And we forgot to actually assign the creation method. Menu name. And of course I forgot under what it is. Items are two items, okay. Are two items. That's that. And let's say that this is the Bestus. Okay, I don't really need anything in here. I'm just going to write drink, and that should be it. So I'm going to go on my player controller now, and I'm going to assign on my inventor manager, I'm just going to drag and drop the Bestus. Obviously you need to be saving those on your profile. Okay, so you can see that we're playing the animation, and there is an event on the animation from the previous time that we actually used it. So first thing, let's tick foot OK so he doesn't go through the floor, and the animation itself, let's go and remove. Well, actually we don't want this to be removed. We could just add the event on the animator hook, public void consume item. Save that, close it, and let's go and do consume item. Okay. So consume item now, it could be throwing a callback under the controller, the same way we trigger the projectiles. Void consume item. Okay, so you have your inventory manager dot consumable item on consume. Okay, of course, if inventory manager dot consumable item, actually not consumable item, current consumable item, that's what we need. So let's see, inventory manager what? Okay. Okay, let's make this as current consumable. Okay. Now on the controller, consume item. If inventory manager current consumable is not null, inventory manager current consumable dot on consume, or consumable base dot on consume. Okay, I'm not accessing directly, even if I have the option to do so, I'm not actually accessing directly the consumable item because we're going to be removing this, this, and this in the future. Okay, so no need to be changing that later. We can just do this now. So now we will see that we get the debug log that the consumable is actually being used. Okay, if we go now on the, you know what, let's do on the controller consume item on the car. Instead of doing this over here, let's say that on the inventory manager we're going to have a method public void consume item actual Okay, and then we're going to add the check in there. So we don't have to give access to anything outside of the script. So we're going to be saying if current consumable not null, current consumable dot consumable base dot on consume, then current consumable dot amount minus minus. Okay, I don't need to be checking for the amount over here because I already do over here. Here's one thing that we can do. We can have an else over here and say that in both of these cases the return value is going to be true, but if it's now empty, we're going to have public string empty animation. Okay, so this is going to be removing the amount. So after the first 5 tries, let's see, yeah, this needs now to be inventory manager dot consume item actual. Okay, so let's find an empty animation. Bestus, let's see, I don't think we have an empty. But I think we had a spell. Yeah, I think we have, yeah, we had this. So I'm just going to use this as your empty, you know. Let's say can do spell. Drop that there. No, we have everything we want from this. Consumables, Bestus, and empty. Let's just write can spell for now. Then we can, when we find an empty, you know, an animation that you do not have the animation, then we should just use that. So use once. Obviously we need to do something with the particles and so on. Use 2, use 3, use 4, and use 5. On the use 6, it's empty, and there you done did it. Okay, so that's the logic. So basically what left to do is on consume, you're going to be passing a reference to your controller, which in turn is going to have access to your stats, so health, so on and so on, whatever you are going to be using, but I'm going to assume that you're going to have health, and that if you're making a game like this, death is going to be a big part of the game, you know, just call it a Hans. But I'm going to assume that that's what you're going to be doing. And yeah, so basically it will be to just take that value and add it what we have here, instead of throwing that backlog, basically adding on to your health. Okay, so let's see how it is. Okay, good enough. Awesome. So that's it for this part. As always, you know what to do. Like, subscribe, and if you like to see more videos, more series, more spells, more anything, more items, maybe other series or anything else, then of course consider supporting me on Patreon so we can keep making all of these beautiful things we are making. I'll see you next time.